So, Submerged on Vision Pro.
Submerged.
Submerged.
Yes.
So we
Yes.
spoke about this a little bit last week when it was announced, but Apple have now released their first short film shot
Mm-hmm.
completely for Vision Pro with all of the immersive technology cameras that they have. There's a pretty cool making of as well that they put on YouTube that I'll put in the show notes. You watched it and wrote about it last week. I watched it today. I wanted to watch it before we recorded, so it would be freshest in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very, very effective piece of media.
I think so too. I think I was fascinated by like how it was made, but I also really enjoyed it. And at the end, I felt like I would watch more of that, right? Like
Yes.
it was. I did not have the feeling of like, whew, we got to the end. It's great. It was more like, oh, I could see how there could be another hour of this movie with intense bits that are set pieces and also character things that are going on. And it was. I was not sure what I was thinking it would be. I wondered if it would be a little more kind of like, aha, it's a submarine. Oh, there's water. Like very kind of like, I don't know, showing off those details of it. And it wasn't. It was, I think it was really well done, really effectively made.
One of the things with this type of technology, and it's the same for all VR stuff, is balancing movement, like how you handle movement, like physical movement through space. Like video games do this in a lot of ways where you're actually mostly just fixed on a specific spot and you like kind of teleport between place to place. This is a very hard thing to do to capture motion sickness. And I think everyone that I've heard or seen, watched it, including me, had at least one point where it was like, this is an uncomfortable feeling right now, like a movement.
So Edward Berger, the director who did All Quiet on the Western Front, which is a good movie, he obviously, I came away with a lot of respect for him because he obviously has given a lot of thought to how this is different from a regular movie. But one of the choices he made, and I was surprised, is how do you do camera movement in a format that you potentially are giving people motion sickness or vertigo or weird feelings when you move the camera. And he tried a bunch of things. He's got some slow push-ins that I think work really well. In fact, there's one where it slowly pushes in and turns a little bit. And I was like, that's fine. He's got some slow pullbacks that I thought that works pretty well. Most of the movie the cameras don't move. He has some setups where it's like one angle and then there's like a reverse angle, or there's one angle and then you are at a close-up, but you're in the close-up for, again, a long time. They definitely learned the lesson. You can't do quick takes. They have to be long takes, the amount of time per cut is very high in this movie.
A lot of lingering.
However,
there's a lot of lingering.
Yes, and it's fine. He also does a couple of fast pushes in and fast pulls back. And for me, the fast push in, I was like, oh, we're doing this. Okay. And the fast pull back, I was like, I don't know. Right. Where he was a little more aggressive. And I think that's really an interesting data point of like, can you move the camera? I think maybe you can. Can you move it really fast? Maybe you shouldn't. I don't know.
There is a level where that movement, provided you do it right, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people trying to learn how to do this right, where you can instill a feeling in someone, right? That maybe you want the viewer to feel uneased by what is happening.
Sure.
There's a real fine line you've got to walk between that and absolute motion sickness. But
I would like the audience to vomit.
Yeah.
No, don't do it.
But there is, I'm sure, a level, right? Where I don't get motion sickness, but there were parts of it. I've never really suffered from it. There were parts of it where I was like, whoa, I don't know about this.
I feel a little funny about that one, yeah.
That was part of it. The behind-the-scenes stuff is really interesting too. And I got to hand it to Edward Berger because this was an incredibly difficult job to be given to do this. He is essentially a pioneer. Nobody's done this before. And
Apple came to him with a bag of money and said, would you be interested in doing this? And he's like, okay,
was that a bag of money? Let me. I was having a thought on this, right? Because they were talking about the sets. The sets were very, very detailed because they kind of had to adjust that. Because the actual image quality was incredible. I've not seen something in VR where the camera quality was so good. So I think they did the right job in trying to build this technology with partners because it looked amazing, but because of the fact that you're able to choose where you want to look to make it look good, the sets need to be very highly detailed.
Yeah, it felt very much like going to Disneyland.
Yes.
To one, a where they have to build the entire thing, whereas on a movie you only have to build little parts of it. They had to build the entire thing because you can look around, just like if you're in a line at an amusement park or you're on the Star Wars ride or whatever. Like, they're not building a movie set now, they're building an environment that people are going to stand in, and you can't have parts of it that fall down because people will look wherever they want. And that's true here too. So that was one of the thoughts I had, is I felt like I was in. The two things that it reminded me of were, one, being in something like Rise of the Resistance, where you're, it's not just a ride. You are, you exit
you're in a movie.
A portion. Yeah, you exit a portion of the ride, and then you're in like sets, and you move on to the next part. So it reminded me of that. And then the other thing it reminded me of is theater. Like, the fact that you have these takes where there's a character or there are two characters and they're just sitting there, there's a guy getting up out of his bunk and all of that. Like, that felt very much like theater because it's a long take, and so really it's down to a physical performance of an actor. And that is not, it's not what we usually see from movies, because in movies it's not just the actor, it's the actor and the director and the editor making a story in individual shots. Whereas this, it's like I'm sitting in a theater where the set is the bunks on the submarine, and I can look wherever I want, but all the physicality, all the movement, everything that's happening in that scene is the actor and what he's doing. And it's not movie-like at all, but it's theater-like. It is familiar in a way. And so this is, it just struck me like, this is a movie, but it's also a bunch of different other things. It's a new thing. It's a new thing.
But like, one of the things they were saying, like, and again about the expense, is unlike a regular set, they actually can't. They have to integrate the lighting and the audio into the set, and it's like the audio. A lot of the audio is being recorded of the people actually moving, which is not typically how you would like create the audio for a movie.
You can't hang microphones up. You can't have any equipment in the front 180, right? Because they'll be in the shot. And that means lighting and all that. I'm reminded of, in Citizen Kane, famously, there are ceilings, and it's like movie sets don't have ceilings. So you very rarely see ceilings in movie sets. But in Citizen Kane, there are ceilings, and how they did it was they're basically like sheets that are lit to make it look like it's a solid ceiling, but it's not. It's a fake. But that's the only way. It's very hard to do it where you don't have a traditional thing where we can hang lights and all that, and they couldn't do it. So they have to have a lot of on-set lighting, and also it wouldn't be realistic, right? It wouldn't look, in a 180-degree environment, it would not look realistic to have a big light blasting on somebody from somewhere, right? Because that's not what the space would be like. So it completely changes the way you have to stage this, and it's just very different.
But it made me think there is this like weird sometimes anti-CGI movement, right, online, where people are like, everything was practical, that meant it was better. And like, well, I think, if you are one of those people, this is the format for you, right? You want more immersive content.
Except one way to solve some of these technical issues is to use VFX to clear out things, right?
But I just thought it was when I was watching it and like seeing the sets that they built, it was funny to me. But it also, I think, indicated that I expect it was essentially a blank check for this project, right?
Feels like
just like, what is
let's build a floodable all metal submarine set.
It kind of had that feeling to it, but like, I think for good reason. I think this movie serves to do what we're currently doing, right? Like, it is essentially a marketing piece for people like us who have these and talk about this stuff, to share with people like, this is cool, right? Like, because this is what we're asking for and have been asking for all year, right? Give us cool stuff to talk about. And like, this is also a cool thing, a very, very cool thing to talk about.
It is. Also, I would say, I have to assume that there are a lot of filmmakers who are watching this thing and going,
yeah,
interesting. And one of those filmmakers will be the next person to talk to Apple about making something in this format.
Yeah, so
and I think
someone's going to watch this and be like, I would like to play in that toy box for a nice chunk of change, right? Like, there's going to be more short. I really hope, but I think this is successful enough. In fact, I think it is very successful. Like, I found myself quite emotionally attached to the story by the end of it, and it's only like a 15-minute story. But I really wanted everybody to do well, and I want to know more about these characters, and I want to know where they go to next, because I felt very intimate with these characters. Like, I am very much with them. And that is, you mentioned it in your piece, it's not just the visuals, the audio as well. Like, that combination really, really sells this piece.
Yeah. Also, one of the things that impressed me, because I know that some people will say, well, it's good for spectacle and you can make an action set piece here. But I really do believe that one of the things about this that I like is the range of it, that it's a character piece, it's a suspense piece, and it's an action piece. And the character piece is good because, again, it's theater. Live, I know a lot of people don't go to live theater. We have a subscription to our local theater company, and we go to live theater, 6, 7, 8 times a year, something like that, because we'll throw in a couple in San Francisco. Lauren really likes live theater, and I really like it too. It's again, a completely different medium, and is very interesting. So it has some aspects of that I really like. You do make a connection with those guys. You're sitting there watching, you're in the room with them as they're eating their like pickles and whatever else the terrible food is that they've stolen from the mess. Like, it's really effective in doing that, which is why when I got to the end, I also had that feeling of like, I could see a more Hunt for Red October or Crimson Tide or whatever else, another claustrophobic submarine movie or something like that. I could see that because it would again have the pacing of there's some action set pieces and there's some character stuff, and that you put it all together. And does it work? I think it does. This is a short story because it is limited to a couple of character bits and then an action set piece, and then that's the end of the movie. But I came up to the surface afterward, was no longer submerged, wondering, well, where does this go from here? And I would love to see more, like, not just, I don't need a sequel to Submerged, but like the idea of like, if this had been longer, I would have been in on the ride. And I loved it as an experience. And I also loved it to see a smart director trying to figure out, and his team trying to figure out, what is an immersive movie? Like, literally, like, what do we do here? And I think a lot of the choices I mentioned in my piece, I think a lot of the particular shots he chooses are very interesting too. There's some close-ups, and I thought, and there's some shots where the depth of field is very limited, so everything in the background is super blurry. And I thought these are really smart film grammar things of saying, how do you focus people's eyes on one thing when they've got a whole 180-degree range? And the answer is you move the camera really close to the actor.
Yep.
And there's nothing but blur in the background, and all you can do is look at the actor's face. And I thought, that's really effective, right? Like that I'm not distracted. I know where to look now. And that's a different technique than you'd use in a regular 16:9, kind of film. But I thought it was effective. And so it was a real joy to see all of these decisions being made, because, everybody's learning this, and we learned from the MLS highlights. We learned what not to do with sports highlights as an immersive.
Because they have another sports thing coming, right? So
they do. They have NBA All-Star Weekend, All-Star Weekend, which was, again, 8 months ago, and it's just coming out. I don't know what's going on with the production.
All of this is, they're just playing
time here,
right?
Like they're messing around with it,
and so
we'll see how that looks. We'll see how that looks, and see if they made some different decisions over the MLS highlights thing. Although the NFL, the Super Bowl thing that they did, I thought was better. I thought that the Super Bowl thing was calmer.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
Apple, I have a pitch. If you want to bring the money truck to me, I have a pitch. I would like to make an immersive movie version of one of my favorite films, Glengarry Glen Ross. I think it would work very well because, like, that movie, you're essentially just in one room.
It's a play. It's a play.
It's a play.
Right?
It was a play adapted to a movie, and it still uses a play. But also, in a lot of places, you're just in different parts of the same office. So
this is what I would say. I would say something similar, which is I want to see a theatrical experience here on an immersive. It doesn't necessarily have to literally be a stage show turned into immersive, like Hamilton, where it's like live from the theater. But it also doesn't need to be a movie. What I'm thinking is, could you make a play but build the whole set?
Yeah, you don't have to sit in the audience. You can just be with the specific scene. You can just be in that scene.
Ideally in the very small number of sets that are used, because plays can't really change the set. That would be another way to do it. I think trying it out just as a play where you've got the best seat in the house and you're just at a play would be cool. But I think that maybe there is some experimentation to do there. But that is one of the takeaways I have from Submerged, is that live theater vibe is real and it's good. Like it's different, but I really like it. I love the fact that I was watching that guy. I was very aware of it, but I'm aware of that when I watch live theater too. I'm aware that I'm watching a performance, especially when at the start. But I really enjoyed the fact that actor, he's just in a short film, right? Like you wouldn't really make a connection to that actor in film, but in theater or in Submerged, it's just like me and that guy is performing. And he's all that's moving on screen, and it's his whole body, and he's giving a performance. And like I really got some strong theater vibes from that. And I think that is something I want to see Apple and creators explore with this format.
The way that the format kind of exists and works kind of allows for a little more mundanity to occur. Right? Like things, you can kind of sit in the moment a little bit more.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's really interesting.
Yep.